Definitely don't think we should give up on this place.
Right. What is that? What is that? Look up there. Look at the ridge.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, oh, right here. You see it? Alaska is the most untouched, wildest, untamed area I've ever seen. This feels like the most target-rich environment for Bigfoot sightings.
From locals vanishing to dead loggers in the woods, the Expedition Bigfoot crew tracked Bigfoot deep into the forest in Alaska before it all went wrong. Let's dive in. Locals vanishing in the woods. After finding strange evidence in California of a rare wolf species that only lives in southeastern Alaska, the Expedition Bigfoot crew followed the clues of this discovery, which led them to Prince of Wales Island in Alaska. On the island, things took a twisted turn. The locals talked about strange screams at night and stories of others disappearing or getting abducted in the woods. But what was causing all the unease?
Shortly after that happened, that's when the sound started.
What kind of sounds?
Like an animal that we'd never heard before in distress. The closest I could come to is a woman getting attacked.
Wow.
When Mireya and her partner Bryce Johnson arrived on the island, they started talking to locals to gather more information about the island that would be relevant to their search. During their conversations, they heard about a scary incident that had happened just weeks earlier. The event had shaken the community so much that town meetings were held, and many people were still frightened by what had happened, to the point that some of the locals left the town. Mireya and Bryce spoke with about 20 people who were connected to the incident, but most of them didn't want to speak on camera. However, they got lucky when one man agreed to share his story. He only had one condition. His face couldn't be shown. The man, a logger by trade, shared his chilling experience.
Yeah, I'm a logger, and 2 weeks ago, we were all working out here. There was at least 20 guys, and we just started noticing things were moved.
Really?
We'd find things just gone, and then we'd go looking for them and find them down in the edge of the woods.
What he told them was unlike anything Mireya and Bryce had expected to hear. His claims were not only detailed, but so unbelievable that it left them questioning what might really be out there on the island. They met 30 miles from the nearest town on the island. There were no roads, meaning that people in the town could not come out there fast enough in case of any cry for help. And just like that, their horror story began. The logger shared what had left him and his crew so frightened. He explained that about 2 weeks earlier, while working with a group of around 20 men, they had started noticing strange things happening at their logging site. Tools and equipment would go missing, and when they went to search for them, they'd find the items moved to the edge of the woods.
Do you think a bear could have taken this stuff?
No, if it would have been a bear, there'd been some kind of signs or tracks or something, and
Were there any kind of tracks at all?
nothing.
When Mireya asked the logger if it could have been a bear, a common animal in the area, the logger was certain it wasn't. He pointed out that if it had been a bear, there would have been tracks left behind. What made the situation even stranger, he added, was that there were no footprints or any other signs of what could have been responsible. As if to add suspense to the story, the logger told them, "That's what was really weird about it. And it happened a few times. It wasn't comfortable. And then shortly after that happened, that's when the sound started. Like an animal that we've never heard of in distress before. The closest I can come to it is a woman getting attacked." The logger explained that while there were many animals in the area, none made the strange noises they had been hearing. Mireya and her partner spoke with him at the camp where the loggers had been storing tree trunks before the mysterious events began.
And the screams that you were hearing, did it sound like they were coming from really close to this area?
Well, the first night when we heard them, it was coming from down in the woods a little ways, and every night they just got a little closer, a little louder.
The logger added that the sounds started deep in the woods and weren't very close at first. But each night, the noises grew louder and seemed to move closer to their camp. The unsettling repeated incidents left the locals feeling uneasy and unsure of what to do. Some of the locals believed that something in the woods didn't want them there. The fear became so intense that some began leaving the island altogether. According to the logger, he and his crew felt like sitting ducks out there. They just didn't feel safe as they did their jobs. When asked if they thought it was Bigfoot, the logger's response fed the curiosity of the crew. He said, "We knew what it was, and people disappear out here. These things come and take them. That's why a lot of people don't like to talk about it."
I mean, we felt like sitting ducks out here. Just didn't feel safe.
Did anybody mention the word Bigfoot?
We knew what it was, and people disappear out here. These things come and take them.
But the logger had more to tell. He explained to Mireya and Bryce that these beings are believed to be in the mountains, and when asked if he had ever been up there, he said that he would never dare because it is their territory. Yet the logger was not the only person to believe that. The old folks of the town also believed that these beings lived in the mountains, deep in the woods, away from humans. Knowing that Bryce and her partner were not Alaskan natives, the logger ended the conversation by giving them a warning, saying, "If I were you, I would stay as far away as possible." Despite the warning, Mireya and Bryce were on a mission to find this mythical, scary creature. After the logger's testimony, Bryce and the rest of the crew went and got their gear to begin the expedition.
I think they're back up the mountain.
Have you ever been up there?
No. Hell no. Would never go up there. That's their territory. The old guys say that's where they are. That's where they live. If I was you, I would stay as far away as possible.
To the crew, the island was the most target-rich environment for Bigfoot sightings ever, considering the stories of the terrified locals. The target was an area surrounding a remote mountain. As they flew to the target, Russell told them about the Native American legends and stories of the area they were going to investigate, as well as the existence of a supernatural humanoid being that was more aggressive and hostile. Knowing this, the team had to be on high alert since, besides the suspected Bigfoot, there were other predators, including bears and wolves, that added an extra sense of danger to their expedition. As dangerous as the expedition was, the team was well prepared for the job. At least, that's what they thought. The team used modern technology, including drones, to help in their search. At first, the drones picked up scents like rotting flesh, wet dogs, and other smells that didn't match what they were looking for. Eventually, the equipment gave them 2 possible locations for Bigfoot sightings. To cover more ground, the team decided to split up and investigate both areas. Mireya took the target with a lower altitude, and Russell took the target higher up the mountain. Carcass and bones.
Listen to that. Holy crap. That is close. Let me get out there just for a bit, okay? Just give me a second.
While taking shelter from a storm later that night, Russell and his crew heard loud rustling noises getting closer to their camp. They noticed a strong, foul smell that matched what the locals had warned them about. The darkness of the woods made it hard to see anything, so Russell decided to grab a flashlight. He wanted to find out what was making the unsettling noise near them. The situation left everyone on edge as they ran into the dark woods looking for the alleged Bigfoot.
Oh, that smell. What in the hell is that? What the? It looks like flesh or hair or skin or something.
And then, something unexpected happened. He saw pieces of devoured flesh and skin hanging in the trees. Before they could process what they were looking at, the rustling continued, and they saw something huge moving through the trees. They ran towards it, and on the way they found freshly broken branches. In his expertise, Russell knew that the creature had passed through there. Before they could clearly identify what they were chasing, the rustling stopped and the creature disappeared. And just like that, things got creepier. On the lower side of the mountain, Mireya detected the same foul smell as Russell, and while investigating the area, she stumbled upon something unexpected: a pile of bones. This scared the hell out of Mireya, as she had just come across what she thought to be Bigfoot remains. Upon closer examination of the site, Mireya realized that it was a potential kill site for Bigfoot, something they had discovered in their previous Washington investigation.
There's old bones, and then there's fairly fresh bones. Something's bringing its kills to this space here to feed on it and eat it.
Seeing this, she quickly radioed Russell to report her findings. "Oh my God, I just found a pile of bones right in front of me, a couple of skulls and other bits." Using a handheld form of laser-guided technology, she continued to look for clues. The readings on her gear began going haywire, a strong signal for a potential encounter with a creature. This scared the crew, so they decided to send a backup to her. Before they did, the foul smell came closer, but then slowly disappeared, and the readings on the scanner went back to normal. To them, this was a clear sign that they were in the presence of a creature they could not see, and it was more intelligent than they had anticipated. They felt taunted. They felt like prey being watched by a predator. It was as if something was playing with their food. By this time, one of the crew had already caught up with Mireya. As they stood in the darkness of the woods, they heard strange screams not so far from where they were. "What was that? What the fuck?" Ronnie exclaimed.
What the?
These sounds were unlike any known animal and created a sense of immediate danger and psychological fear in them. The creepy scream sounded like an animal in distress, coming from all directions. One consistent sound came from somewhere close to what they had mapped to be a source of water. The scream continued, and they suddenly heard rustling above them from the treetops, after which it stopped. At this point, they were sure that it was not a wolf or a bear. They also confirmed that the voices they were hearing sounded like a person in distress. "That sounded like a person yelling or something," Ronnie exclaimed. To make matters even more creepy, the second scream they heard had a more human tone than the first one. This is precisely what the logger they initially met had warned them about. Recalling this, Russell told his crew to stay alert and watch out for anything. This was the old site that the logger and his team had abandoned. As they moved through the darkness with only flashlights being the source of light in the thick woods, the screams continued, and they still smelled the strange odor. Considering that the loggers had abandoned their construction site in fear of the creatures, Russell and his team seemed to be poking them by going deeper into the mountains. It's like they were right in their backyard in the middle of the night. Under Mireya's suggestion, together with her crew, they walked down to the lake where the consistent scream came from. 2.5 miles east of Mireya's location, Russell was returning to the location where what appeared to be animal skin was hanging from a tree.
Where is it? Wait, hold it. We were right here. It was right there, man. I'm looking at the same tree, and up here there's nothing. Whatever was hanging is now gone.
Reaching there, they were shocked to see that the piece of flesh was missing from the branches, and it was not on the ground. Using the images of the skin the cameraman had captured, they estimated the distance from the ground to where the piece of flesh had been to be 20 feet. In his expertise, Russell knew that there was no way a bear could have done this without breaking the pieces of branches as it climbed. It had to be something with the capability to maneuver on top of trees. Critically analyzing the situation, Russell admitted that they had been outmaneuvered by whatever took the piece of flesh, since it had to come back after they had chased after it. Yet, the creatures were stealthy like shadows and avoided direct light from the crew's flashlights. This made Russell conclude that the animal had intentionally led them away from what it had left behind so as to come back and collect it.
That's what, about 20 feet up? How would it get up there? A bear couldn't have got up there and not broken off those branches on the way. I don't know if this thing's leading us away from what it left behind.
One of Russell's crew admitted to feeling like they were being watched by something. Feeling unsafe in the area, they had Zach, a gunman, accompany them the following day. Being experts, they knew that the previous night's rain meant soft ground, hence the probability of finding footprints. They decided to investigate the massive space, looking for physical evidence. But things wouldn't get as easy for them as they thought. The problem was that they spotted a lot of bear tracks all over the place, with nothing closely resembling potential prints of Bigfoot. Zach explained to them that the many bear tracks were caused by bears who enjoy eating new growth as soon as the rains begin. This meant that there had been bears moving all over the place in search of food, but Zach assured them that they were safe during the day.
The bears will browse on that new growth, but it's all over the place, not just the fiddleheads.
So we're safe here?
Yeah, this is safe.
Okay.
For the very first time of any of our expeditions, we have armed bear guards with us.
Although they all survived the horrors of the previous night, Mireya noticed how this research trip felt more dangerous than ever, because they had armed guards walking around them for the first time in any expedition. She explained that while the team had been to areas with many bears before, Alaska was different. The bears there were much larger, wilder, and not used to humans. This made them harder to predict and far more dangerous to be around since they could attack at any time. On top of that, since it was morning, the bears would definitely be coming out of their dens for an active day. Knowing this, Zach warned them that the bears would be hungry and things could get ugly very quickly upon encounter with one. For this reason, There was a constant sense of danger throughout the rest of the expedition. Having the armed guards really changed the feel of the expedition.
They're hungry, they're just waking up, they're coming out of dens, and now's a very active time for these bears.
Guards with guns may seem like enough, but nothing could stop an angry group of massive humanoid cannibals hunting for human flesh. While most Bigfoot encounters are harmless, some get pretty violent and terrifying when these creatures decide no one should come near their territory. Town evacuated. Something strange had been happening in Alaska. Mysterious disappearances and horrifying deaths created a chilling atmosphere. Whispers of a strange killer humanoid creature circulated through the land, and the fear it caused became so intense that an entire Alaskan village was abandoned. Portlock, once a thriving settlement, was left to crumble into a ghost town. But what made Portlock so terrifying?
Portlock was cursed and Bigfoot's place and nobody goes there.
Overnight, everybody left.
But then people started to disappear.
Just gone.
This quiet village by the sea seemed peaceful, but its history was anything but ordinary. For centuries, people tried to live there, but the area was abandoned not once, not twice, but 4 times. Portlock's story stands out from other ghost towns across America, not just because of its haunted past, but because it felt cursed. From people living there falling ill, and it wasn't just physical sickness, to them experiencing overwhelming fear and an eerie sense of dread that seemed to weigh heavily on everyone. Even the strongest among many explorers or tribes looking for greener pastures were overcome by terror. But it gets even worse. In 1867, a group of nomadic Sugpiaq natives decided to settle there. They found the area rich in clams, fish, and moose. To them, it felt like a blessing. They were eager to start new lives in such a bountiful place. But the peace didn't last long. Within just a month, the Sugpiaq faced violent attacks. These weren't the familiar raids from rival tribes. The villagers claimed their attackers were something much worse: cannibal giants. These monstrous beings, large in size and ferocious in nature, didn't come for resources or livestock. They came for human flesh. Night after night, the giants attacked with unimaginable brutality. The villagers tried to fight back, determined to protect their home, but the cannibal monsters were too much for them, and they had to evacuate too. But the haunting did not stop there.
Terrorizing people, killing their pets, being destructive. That's the kind of specimen that I'd like to take. If I'm out in the woods one night or one day and I see a Bigfoot, I'm not going to shoot. That's going to have to happen in order for mainstream science to ever acknowledge.
Loggers going missing. By 1930, Portlock had grown, and so had the residents' sense of safety. The once strict rules against visiting the foggy parts of the forest were relaxed. In 1931, a logger named Andrew Kamluck decided to venture deeper into the forest, ignoring the long-standing caution to stay near the edges. When he didn't return, his friends organized a search party. What they found sent shockwaves through the community. Kamluck's body was discovered in a horrific state. His head had been crushed by his own sled, a sled so heavy no human could have moved it alone. Nearby, his sled dogs lay shredded, and the sled itself had been flung far from the scene. The gruesome discovery left the search party speechless. The brutality of the attack raised a chilling question. What kind of creature could possess such strength and savagery? Kamluck's death was a stark reminder of the unseen predator lurking in the forest. The once distant threat felt closer than ever. The town was gripped by fear, but it wasn't long before another terrifying encounter took place. Tom Larson, another resident, ventured out to the shore to chop wood for fish traps. As he worked, he noticed something that made his blood run cold: a massive, hairy creature standing upright on the beach. It was too large and animalistic to be human, yet its eyes radiated an unsettling intelligence. Feeling both fear and an odd compulsion, Larson hurried home to grab his rifle. When he returned to the beach, he aimed at the creature, ready to shoot, but as he locked eyes with it, an unexplainable paralysis overtook him. He couldn't pull the trigger. The creature stared him down for a moment before retreating slowly into the forest, leaving Larson shaken and deeply unnerved. Though Larson's encounter ended without violence, it solidified the town's fears. The non-Tanakh was no longer just a story. It was real, and it was growing bolder. No longer content with stalking the forests, it had begun targeting humans directly.
Prevalent in their storytelling traditions as well. But then the settlers came in the late 1700s, and they too started running into yowies, which is another very strong indicator that they're a real biological animal.
The once thriving Portlock now found itself at the mercy of a predator whose power and presence were impossible to ignore. Camluck's death seemed to awaken something in the creature, a primal, vengeful instinct. Not long after, more residents of Portlock began disappearing, leaving the town in a cloud of fear. People began to whisper about the non-Tanakh, describing it as a vengeful spirit, something relentless and unforgiving. They compared it to a tiger that holds a grudge against hunters, or an elephant seeking revenge on those who have harmed it. The non-Tanakh, they reasoned, was no different, a creature filled with wrath, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. At first, a few gold miners vanished, but the townsfolk assumed that they had gone on long trips. Then a group of hunters disappeared, raising more questions. Still, people reasoned it was just another extended expedition. But as the disappearances continued, a darker pattern began to take shape. Each vanishing felt closer to home, as though the predator was inching its way into the heart of Portlock. Soon, the truth became undeniable. Bodies began to surface, their fates gruesome and horrifying. Some were found in the bay, marked with deep claw and bite wounds. Others were discovered along trails or rivers, their remains so mangled, whatever was stalking Portlock had an insatiable hunger, and its attacks grew bolder. The Alutiiq people, desperate to protect their community, tried to restore their strict ancient rules to keep everyone safe. Guards were doubled, curfews were heavily enforced, and caution became the town's way of life. Yet nothing worked. The non-Tanakh was relentless, finding its prey regardless of the precautions taken. For a while, skeptics clung to the idea that a clever bear might be behind the attacks. After all, bears could roam the same territories as Sasquatch-like creatures, and their behavior could be misunderstood. But this theory quickly lost support. A discovery made after heavy spring rains shattered any lingering doubts. A body, torn apart and dismembered, was found swept down from the mountains. The damage to the remains was something no bear could have caused. The message was clear. Something beyond human understanding was preying on Portlock's residents, and the growing death toll strengthened the belief in the non-Tanakh's terrifying existence. Guards patrolled day and night, but they could not stop the creature's rampage. Bodies continued to turn up along well-traveled paths, near rivers, and even washed ashore in the bay. Each was mutilated, bearing the undeniable mark of the predator. Fear consumed the town as the people realized they were being hunted by something far beyond their control. The non-Tanakh, whether beast or spirit, had made Portlock its hunting ground. Up to 36 bodies were discovered in the area, while countless others disappeared without a trace. Official reports put the number of missing people at around 15, but the native community believed the real number was much higher. They were convinced that the way the bodies were found, mutilated in ways no bear or wolf could manage, pointed to something far more sinister. As the disappearances and deaths continued, fear took hold of Portlock. Life in the town became unbearable, and survival seemed less and less likely. The Alutiiq eventually decided to leave in 1950. Their departure was swift and unconventional, with nearly the entire population evacuating overnight. For centuries, legends of Bigfoot have captured the human imagination. But for some, these aren't just stories, they're terrifying realities. Join me as we dive into the most spine-chilling Bigfoot sightings ever documented. You might want to keep the lights on for this one. The Canadian beast of Crescent Falls. Let's start in Crescent Falls, Alberta, where one man's peaceful hike turned into a nightmare he'll never forget. While wandering through the dense, shadowy forest, the hiker came across an odd makeshift shelter constructed entirely of fallen trees and branches. The arrangement was too deliberate to be natural, leaving the man both fascinated and uneasy. His curiosity got the best of him, so he decided to investigate further by setting up a live recording trail camera aimed directly at the shelter. He hoped to capture footage of wildlife, perhaps a bear or deer, but he couldn't have anticipated what would come next. The next day, the man returned to collect the camera, only to discover footage that would forever change the way he viewed the wilderness. His heart raced as he watched the recording. There, standing in front of the camera, was a massive upright creature covered in thick dark hair, its eyes reflecting the camera's infrared light. Locals called this creature Kakan, meaning forest beast of darkness, a name that speaks to the deep-rooted fear this being inspired in the area. Experts who reviewed the footage estimated the creature's height to be between 8 and 9 feet, its broad shoulders and massive build, unlike anything the man had ever seen in the wild. The footage showed the creature multiple times, each time seemingly unaware it was being watched, which made the situation even more unsettling. Could this footage be one of the clearest pieces of evidence that Bigfoot exists? Many who've seen the footage believe so, calling it some of the most compelling evidence ever recorded. The Yellowstone Giant. Yellowstone National Park is known for its breathtaking scenery, geysers, and wildlife, but in August 2023, it became the setting for one of the most chilling Bigfoot sightings in recent memory. A video surfaced showing a large, dark figure moving quickly through the park's dense forest. The footage, though shaky, captured enough detail to send shivers down the spines of those who watched it. The figure appeared to be covered in dark fur, its arms swinging as it moved with a grace and speed unusual for a creature of its size. What made this sighting even more eerie was the reaction from the park rangers. When they were shown the footage, their response was unsettling, to say the least. They laughed nervously, and one ranger vaguely remarked, "Yeah, you've got Bigfoot there." Was this a dismissive joke, or did the rangers know something they weren't willing to share? The fact that the sighting occurred in such a famous location has only fueled speculation. Some believe that the National Park Service may be aware of Bigfoot's existence and is keeping it under wraps to avoid public panic. Whatever the truth, the footage from Yellowstone has added a new layer to the Bigfoot mystery. The creature's massive build, powerful strides, and the eerie reaction from the park rangers leave us with one haunting question. Could Bigfoot be hiding in one of the most visited national parks in the world? The sleeping Sasquatch. The idea of coming face-to-face with Bigfoot is terrifying enough, but what if you found one sleeping in the forest? That's exactly what one TikTok user claimed to have captured in a now viral video. Armed with a camera, the filmer bravely approached what appeared to be a massive sleeping creature deep in the woods. The filmer's voice can be heard narrating the moment, stating that they were about to try and collect a hair sample from the creature. Now, anyone familiar with Bigfoot lore knows that getting close to one of these creatures is a risky move, let alone attempting to disturb it while it's asleep. As the camera zoomed in, viewers could clearly see a large, hairy figure lying motionless on the forest floor, its chest rising and falling as it breathed. The creature's fur was matted and thick, blending perfectly with the undergrowth around it, making it hard to believe this was anything but a real animal. But was it? Some viewers were skeptical, pointing out that the creature didn't react to the filmer's presence, something you'd expect from a wild animal. Could it have been an elaborate hoax, with someone in a costume laying perfectly still? Or was this an unprecedented glimpse of Bigfoot in one of its most vulnerable moments? The lack of definitive answers has only deepened the mystery surrounding this eerie encounter. The escaped Sasquatch fact or fiction? One of the wildest and most controversial stories in Bigfoot lore comes from an episode that aired on the History Channel. According to the story, researchers claim to have captured a live Sasquatch, a massive 9-foot creature which they contained in a specially designed cage for further study. However, things took a bizarre turn when, overnight, the Sasquatch reportedly broke out of the cage and disappeared into the wilderness before scientists could gather any substantial data. The story quickly spread, especially after the episode mysteriously vanished from the History Channel's schedule. Some believe the show was pulled deliberately, raising questions about whether the government or private entities are involved in covering up the existence of Sasquatch.
Safely go in and get some samples. I'm going to be taking blood, hair, and saliva so that we can compare to other sightings and establish a baseline genetic profile.
Skeptics, however, are quick to dismiss the entire story, calling it a scene straight out of a Hollywood movie. Many have compared it to films like Harry and the Hendersons, arguing that the footage was too well produced, with professional lighting and staged setups. Adding to the skepticism is the idea that a creature as powerful as Sasquatch could be held in such a flimsy cage in the first place. Critics argue that any real Sasquatch would have broken out long before being filmed, or it would have called for help from other Sasquatches. Still, the details of the escape and the sudden disappearance of the episode have left enough room for conspiracy theories to thrive. Oregon's mysterious forest giant. Oregon, a state rich in dense forests and rugged terrain, has long been a hotspot for Bigfoot sightings. The Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization, a group dedicated to tracking these elusive creatures, received a submission that could be one of the most bizarre yet. A viewer sent in a still image they had captured while exploring the forests near McMinnville. The image, at first glance, appears to show a large, muscular figure standing among the trees, its long arms hanging almost to its knees. What's particularly eerie about this photo is the figure's posture. Unlike many suspected Bigfoot sightings, which can often be explained away as people in costumes, this creature's proportions seem far too unusual for a human. Its arms are elongated, and its torso seems too broad for a person to fit inside a costume. Skeptics have tried to dismiss the image as a clever hoax, but the figure's strange anatomy has left many viewers puzzled. Some Bigfoot enthusiasts believe this could be one of the clearest examples of a forest giant, a term used to describe a particularly large and mysterious variant of Bigfoot that has been reported in the Pacific Northwest. The image, while not definitive proof, has reignited debates over what exactly could be living in the deep, unexplored forests of Oregon. What do you think of these first 5 encounters? Could these be real encounters with the legendary Bigfoot, or just elaborate hoaxes? We're just getting started. The next stories are even more chilling. The Canadian Hunter's Encounter. Our journey through Bigfoot lore next takes us back to the Canadian wilderness, where a hunter set out on what he thought would be an ordinary trip. As he walked through the forest, his camera picked up movement, a large, shadowy figure moving swiftly between the trees. At first, the hunter was convinced he had come across a bear. But as the figure came into focus, it became clear this was no bear. The creature walked upright, its fur thick and dark, its steps deliberate and human-like. For many, the footage lacked the erratic movement typical of Bigfoot sightings, leading to skepticism. But the hunter insists it was no ordinary animal, claiming the creature's posture and gait were unlike anything he'd seen in the wild. The Indian Rainforest Encounter. Bigfoot is often associated with the forests of North America, but there have been sightings all around the world. In the dense jungles of India, one man's quiet walk took a terrifying turn when he heard strange noises in the distance. With his camera rolling, he captured something unexpected: a massive humanoid figure with thick black fur moving stealthily between the trees. The creature, caught briefly on camera, quickly ducked behind a tree when it noticed it was being watched. While some argue it could be a man in a suit, the sheer size and movement of the figure left many viewers questioning the possibility. Bigfoot or not, the eerie atmosphere of the Indian rainforest only added to the mystery. The Rocky Mountain Rider sighting. Imagine going on a peaceful horseback ride through the forest, only to later discover something terrifying lurking in the shadows. That's exactly what happened to a group of riders in the Rocky Mountains. As they navigated the trails, their cameras recorded the serene beauty of the wilderness, or so they thought. It wasn't until they reviewed the footage later that they noticed a dark, imposing figure standing among the trees, watching them. The creature's broad shoulders and thick fur were unmistakable, and it appeared to be hiding from the group. The sighting has since sparked debate, with many convinced this was a genuine Bigfoot encounter, while others argue it could have been a bear or another large animal. The Czech Republic hiker's discovery. The eerie forests of Czechoslovakia aren't typically known for Bigfoot sightings, but one hiker's experience might change that. While exploring a remote area, the hiker heard a low guttural noise that sent chills down his spine. Instead of turning back, curiosity got the better of him, and he went deeper into the woods. What he found were massive footprints, larger than any humans, pressed deep into the ground. Nearby, branches had been snapped, as if something enormous had passed through. Although the hiker never saw the creature that made the prints, The deep growls and disturbed forest floor were enough to convince him that something large and dangerous was lurking nearby. Some speculate it could have been a dogman, while others believe it was Bigfoot revealing itself in the depths of the forest. Arctic Yeti sighting. Up next, we head to the freezing wilderness of the Arctic, where an alleged sighting of a Yeti, often thought to be a close relative of Bigfoot, was caught on camera. The video shows a large, furry creature approaching a dog bowl, set out to lure it closer for a better shot. Although many expected the Yeti to be white, the creature in the video was covered in dark fur. As the Yeti approaches the camera, its movements seem deliberate, as if it's fully aware it's being filmed. The details of the creature's features remain blurry, but the sheer size of the figure left viewers unsettled. Could this Arctic Yeti be another branch of the Bigfoot family, surviving in the coldest regions of the world? Florida skunk ape sighting. In the swamps of Florida, stories of the skunk ape, a southern version of Bigfoot, have circulated for years. In one chilling encounter, a park ranger captured footage of a massive, shadowy figure moving through the trees late at night. The ranger, driving through the park in his Jeep, stopped when he saw the creature, grabbing his phone to record. The creature, large and covered in dark fur, moved swiftly, almost disappearing into the swampy underbrush. The ranger's colleagues were split on whether it was just a bear or something far more elusive. Some argued it could be the legendary skunk ape, a creature said to have roamed the Florida swamps for centuries. The ranger's footage, though grainy, added more fuel to the debate. Bigfoot stalks the backyard. One evening, a family in the Pacific Northwest captured unsettling footage from their backyard. What started as a casual video of their dog quickly became something much scarier. In the distance, something large and furry was moving through the trees. The camera zoomed in, trying to focus on the figure as it darted from one spot to another. At first, it seemed like there was just one creature, but as the camera panned around the yard, another figure appeared in the corner of the screen. Was this a group of Bigfoots? The speed and agility of the creatures left the family convinced that they had captured something extraordinary. They shared the footage online, sparking a frenzy of debate. Could multiple Bigfoots be living in the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest? The Patterson-Gimlin film, 1967. One of the most famous and widely debated Bigfoot sightings occurred on October 20, 1967, when Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin were riding their horses through Bluff Creek in Northern California. The pair captured what is considered one of the clearest video recordings of a Bigfoot-like creature walking along a riverbank. The footage shows a large, hairy, upright figure with a distinctive walk, swinging its arms as it moves away from the camera. The creature is often referred to as Patty, and experts who have analyzed the footage estimate the figure to be around 7 to 8 feet tall. While some skeptics have dismissed the film as a hoax, it remains one of the most iconic pieces of Bigfoot evidence, and no conclusive proof has been provided to debunk it definitively. The blurry Bigfoot chase. One of the most frustrating aspects of Bigfoot sightings is the quality of the footage. In this next encounter, a man hiking through the woods felt a strange sensation, like he was being watched. He pulled out his camera, trying to capture anything unusual. Sure enough, as he zoomed in on the dense foliage, a large, shadowy figure appeared in the distance. But no matter how hard he tried to focus, the figure remained blurry. The man later described the creature as tall and ape-like, moving swiftly through the forest. While skeptics argue that the blur was just a trick of the light, the man is convinced he caught a glimpse of something extraordinary. The juvenile Bigfoot sprint. In another eerie encounter, a park camera in North America caught footage of a small, fast-moving creature darting across the screen. At first glance, the creature looked like a bear, but its speed and agility were unlike any bear the rangers had ever seen. Some viewers speculated that this could be a juvenile Bigfoot, still growing into its full size. The creature's gait was distinctly bipedal, and its fur was thick and dark, but its smaller size made it seem less imposing. Could this be evidence that Bigfoot populations are growing and thriving in the wild? The possibility of a young Bigfoot adds a fascinating new dimension to the legend. The 2013 trail camera eye photo. In September 2013, a trail camera in a remote forest captured an image that has left many questioning what really roams the woods. The camera, which was placed to monitor wildlife, snapped a close-up shot of a large eye peering into the lens. The eye appeared slightly human, but there was something distinctly off about it. It was too large, too intense, and carried an eerie sense of intelligence. At first, speculation ran wild that this could be the eye of a Bigfoot, especially considering the size and shape. Experts later reviewed the image and suggested it might belong to a pig, but those who believe in Bigfoot weren't convinced. The eye had a mysterious quality that's hard to shake, leaving the question, could this be one of the closest looks we've ever gotten at Bigfoot? The misty forest shadow. Our next encounter transports us to a misty, otherworldly forest where something unusual was captured on camera. As the fog rolled through the towering trees, the video footage revealed a strange figure moving among the shadows. The uploader suggested it resembled an ape, possibly even the elusive Bigfoot. However, when the footage was analyzed more closely, it became harder to discern any clear features. The figure was dark and moved quickly, blending into the forest as if it was part of the landscape. Was this a trick of light and shadows, or was it truly something more mysterious? The mist, combined with the unclear figure, only deepened the mystery. The multiple Bigfoot theory. There's a theory among Bigfoot enthusiasts that these creatures don't live in isolation. In one chilling video, a homeowner caught what appeared to be multiple Bigfoots moving through the woods near his property. The camera, which was focused on the tree line, captured fast-moving figures that darted in and out of view. At first, the homeowner believed he was seeing a single creature, but upon closer inspection, there appeared to be at least two, possibly three creatures moving through the forest in unison. The footage, though blurry, has led some to believe that Bigfoot may travel in groups, raising the possibility that we're dealing with entire populations of these creatures, rather than rare individual sightings. The Paul Freeman sighting, 1994. In 1994, a U.S. Forest Service employee named Paul Freeman had a close encounter with what he claimed was a Bigfoot near the Blue Mountains in Washington. Freeman, who was an experienced tracker, initially found large footprints in the area. Later, he claimed to have seen the creature itself and even captured a brief video of it moving through the forest. Freeman's footage shows a large, dark figure walking upright and disappearing into the trees. Though some have questioned the authenticity of the video, others believe Freeman's experience to be genuine, pointing to his reputation as a tracker and the detailed footprints that were found around the sighting area. This sighting has continued to fuel interest in Bigfoot research in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, there he goes.
The European Bigfoot, an alpine encounter. We end our journey in the rugged, snow-covered Alps of Europe. In 2018, a group of hikers captured footage of a large, hairy creature moving across a remote mountain pass. The creature, walking upright, appeared to be covered in thick, dark fur, blending into the snowy backdrop. What made this sighting particularly chilling was the sheer isolation of the area. The Alps are not typically associated with Bigfoot sightings, but this creature's size and movements were eerily similar to those reported in North America. The hikers managed to capture several minutes of footage before the creature disappeared over the ridge. The encounter left them shaken, and the footage has since been scrutinized by experts. Could this be evidence that Bigfoot, or a relative, roams not just the forests, but the icy mountains of Europe? And there you have it, 20 of the scariest Bigfoot sightings and encounters from across the globe. From the dark forests of North America to the icy wilderness of Europe, these encounters have left witnesses terrified, fascinated, and in many cases, unsure of what they really saw. Is Bigfoot real, or are these sightings simply misidentified animals or elaborate hoaxes? One thing's for sure, the mystery of Bigfoot is as strong as ever, and these terrifying encounters only deepen the mystery. What do you think? Could these creatures be out there, lurking in the forests and mountains, waiting to be discovered? Whether you believe or not, these stories remind us that there's still so much about the natural world we have yet to understand. As always, stay curious, stay skeptical, and remember to keep an open mind. Because who knows what's hiding in the shadows of the wilderness?